Okay, so those of you who don't know, we record an entire week at a time on a Sunday morning. And besides Big D over there yawning, one of the things that he does constantly is work on the order list from Zeus, his store, Zeus Comics, ZeusComics.com, correct?
Yes.
And what's the address in case you're in Dallas?
1334 Inwood Road.
I knew it was Inwood.
I'm just giving you my home address. I was like,
well, I'll go to your house because
okay.
you keep all the comics there too, don't you?
That's the secret treasure's buried. Yeah.
But Richard owns one of the best comic stores here in Dallas, and he works on these things, and we get to talking, and Sean brings up this question of DC, which you want to say what your question was, Sean?
I was just saying, is everything Batman coming out from DC right now? Because as I look at upcoming weeks, I'm looking at well, this is what's coming out this week, but it's Batman and the Joker, Batman Incorporated, Batman The Adventures Continue, Batman Urban Legend, then we have Danger Street, but then we have I Am Batman, then we have Lazarus Planet Alpha, which is a Batman spinoff, Looney Tunes, Suicide Squad Blaze, Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries, The Flash, Human Target, Wildcats, Wonder Woman. I mean, more than half of that was Batman.
Yeah.
But it's always been
or
that
Batman
way.
related.
It
so it just feels like
always been that way.
How long
That
has
is
it been?
not new.
But there was a shift at some point where it went away from Superman being the number one DC to Batman being.
I don't know. I don't remember the last time Superman was the number one. It was always been Batman.
Is Superman
I would
still
say
a
I
good
would
seller?
bet in the 80s, back when it's Action Comics, Superman. When they literally had 4 Superman titles, so that you had a Superman every. Remember, they even numbered them on the front
but
of
you
them.
also had Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight, Batman Gotham Knights. I mean,
remember that.
It was the Batman also had equal many titles. Do I think Superman sales maybe have waned between now and then? Since then, yeah, but this is not new. And the thing is, we've grown this generation up in such a way that the entire Bat family is what you're also counting as a part of this line, right? It's not just Batman. You're also talking about Batgirls, which is
And Robin.
and Robin, yeah, all that stuff.
So that led me to that I had a question I wanted to ask, and this is in regards to Warner Brothers with the DCEU trying to build their version of a cinematic universe like Marvel has done. So James Gunn and his partner, I forget his partner's name, take everything over, and they have said that James Gunn is working on a Superman film and that it will be an origin story, and I get why you're doing that. Why do you start with Superman? And I have an opinion why you do, but if Batman is the number one property, why is your world not Batman, and then you suddenly introduce an all-powerful character into it? Why do we start with Superman? Why does DC have to start with Superman to make it work? Do you have to set those rules of a good, all-powerful character?
I don't know that you necessarily have to start with a Superman for this. It's that you've already got competing Batman films.
Yeah, that's
over
what
the
I was
last,
going to say.
over the last 20
You've got
years.
Batman and Jokers out there already.
You would have to establish a completely uniquely different Batman from the
And maybe they don't want to venture into make because the
Matt
Robert
Reeves-
Pattinson.
Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
You have to so, and then you then have two competing things. So the idea of the DC universe starting with the Superman makes sense, right? You then can introduce the pantheon from there, expanding outside of this new Superman. He makes sense in terms of starting a new universe for a writer. I mean, you wouldn't. We've already got the. DC's already had some moderate success establishing side characters, Suicide Squad, Shazam, that kind of stuff. They want to build someplace, so they're going to build with their Captain America, as opposed to Marvel, who built with their Iron Man, right? So they're going to start with their Captain America. That's just the only difference.
I found it interesting in that and I'm not a Marvel guy, but Iron Man seemed like a character when that started that wasn't the immediate choice to start our universe from.
Well, I don't know. I would love to go back and find out. Feige may have grand dreams of all that happening, but that may not have been.
That may not have been their intent. It was just a happy accident.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked, and they were able to kind of funnel in. Because remember, they had the Hulk, and the Hulk didn't do that well.
Which that always breaks
The
my
Ang
heart
Lee.
because Ang Lee not so much, but I'm not a big Edward Norton fan, but I liked that movie. I just watched it the other day, and I thought I kind of like this movie. I wish they'd continued on that path.
But they didn't build off of it, right? They built off of Iron Man,
right?
And after Iron Man was Captain America, the one we got next.
Thor.
Thor
was
second.
Was it Thor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Iron Man, Thor, then Captain America.
And then when you begin to see the success, you then begin to build the universe from there. I think it took them having a couple of good films under the belt with a couple of core characters to build from there.
I do think that James Gunn can make a good Superman film. I think that there's enough sweetness to Guardians of the Galaxy to show me that he has that ability to find the goodness in Superman, which I think that's the one. I think Henry Cavill was a great Superman. I think that he was failed by, what was his name?
Studio.
Zack
Snyder.
Zack Snyder. I don't mind you darkening the world around Superman, but there was not enough hope in that film.
Well, I was actually about to use that word, hope. Superman should be about hope.
All about hope.
Right? With everything happening right now, James Gunn may see an opportunity to tell a very optimistic story about a hero that can rise up among all the troubles that are happening right now. And he can also kind of play into, in the same way he did with Star-Lord, of this, he was able to kind of bring this relationship with Star-Lord and his
dad.
His dad. It just there's a lot that he can do that you see in Star-Lord that he can actually apply to a Superman character.
Well, I think even in, is it Peacemaker? Is that the name of it? Mm-hmm. I think even in that has a level of sweetness and some darkness on top of it.
Sure.
Where I'm like, okay, he has the skills to tell that story.
Yeah.
I admire that he and his partner have said that we're going to keep this world of Joaquin Phoenix being Joker.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson's going to stay Batman. We're going to do these other worlds or Elseworlds or whatever it is. I admire that. I admire that idea. We're going to keep these. These are good. We don't want to screw with that. But I think I'd not thought of it this way. The Robert Pattinson movie was so immensely popular and a success for Warner Brothers. They probably don't want to cloud that water right away and bring out a competing Batman. They want to start elsewhere and say, this is a new property and we're going to build from there.
I mean, we were going to have to, on some level, accept the fact that we had a Ben Affleck Batman and Robert Pattinson Batman.
At the same time,
they'd kind of continue going on.
True.
Right? They made them very, very different characters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I imagine that in James Gunn's universe, as we build this Batman, his blue is going to be more like a Captain America blue, where it's still dark, but it's not necessarily black.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so I think we'll see some more colorful DC characters move a little bit further along as he gets into it. Superman's got a giant bright outfit.
I want to get to the villain that you think that Superman should and would battle in a movie, but I want to stay on the costumes real quick. I pray, and I'm not a praying person, but I pray that they get away from the molded armor look of all Zack Snyder.
Oh, I agree.
That Superman costume, I don't want to see. You can't have the royal blue and make it look real in our cinematic language today. But then putting Wonder Woman in that weird rubberized metal, which I know she should have metal, but rubberized metal. Then the Flash being that he has plated armor, being that the Batman costume for Affleck actually came the closest, I think, of looking like a comic book.
True, yeah.
Of all of them. Please get away from that armored look, please.
I think that if James Gunn is smart, because we saw it in his Suicide Squad costumes, we saw it in the Suicide Squad costumes, that cosplay is really popular right now.
Yeah.
And these kids and adults are emulating bright, shiny anime characters.
That's a very good point.
These are giant, bright, pink and red and yellow and green and gold costumes with crazy things. You can do it with the DC universe. The DC universe is that.
Yeah.
And if My Hero Academia can use bright blues and reds and so on for the characters, and people want to emulate them in real life, then yeah, you can do that with DC.
That's a good point. I know that a lot of the times now we almost demand that you accentuate even people like Ben Affleck, who is a huge human being.
Right.
He's a very large man. But you still have to accentuate for the camera to read the muscles through his costume. And how do you do that with a little bit of a padded muscle suit beneath a very bright costume that is less forgiving than dark colors are when they read through a lens? There's also digital work. You can go fix anything that's wrong. I would love to see a Superman that looks like Superman should. Don't make him G. Williker, but you go back to that Superman animated series.
Do you want red underwear or no red underwear?
I don't know. I wonder about that because Henry Cavill's Man of Steel came on HBO not long ago, and I had it on the background, and I kept looking at it, and I thought, okay, this man has the physique of Superman. He is an immense human being too. He looks it, but I kept thinking, it looks weird to be in a big blue leotard. And how do you add in the red undies without making it look like, why is he wearing his undies on top of that?
That's just what the Kryptonians did. Come on, they wore their undies on the outside.
But then I also watched some DC video was on YouTube, and it was about the history of Superman. And one thing that they showed was the way that Christopher Reeve was able to bring nobility to the hope, to the sweetness, to all of that. I think to what you're saying, all these things that DC can be, is if you got the right actor and the right director writing a script to where it was like, and let's say it was that, this is what my people wore. And now it makes me hopeful that I can change today's society. Something like that. And I think you go back to what Star Wars was. The original Star Wars was exactly that. George felt like that kids did not have hopeful stories, things that would teach them values, and that's why he wanted to make Star Wars. I think James Gunn has an opportunity with this movie to do something like that.
I think the obsession over the underwear on the outside is a little not odd. I don't think you're going to see literal underwear on the outside.
What would you do?
I think you're going to see a stitched costume.
Okay.
Which has that red color blocking in that area that could appear like underwear.
Sure.
I don't think they're literally going to put underwear on top of tights.
Well, no, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be stitched. No. It's going to be stitched in such a way that it looks like
underwear.
Well, it looks like it's part of the costume.
Yeah.
But you can tell there's color blocking right there.
The Fleischer cartoons, those old classic ones, he wore more like what looked like boxers. Instead of like the brief look, it was like a boxer. Try something like that. I think
it's going to be a stitched costume, and I think it's going to be color blocked.
What I mean is the shape of it. You're going to have something that
he's probably going to look more like he's wearing a Speedo than anything else. In terms of the shape.
Oh.
I was just trying to imagine Superman in only a Speedo.
But I mean, in terms of the shape, it's again this idea of it stitched. It's going to be that.
Okay. I'm excited to see what he does with it. I'm happy that they are leaving things alone again with Robert Pattinson and Joaquin Phoenix. I'm hopeful because I think Zachary Levi is great as Shazam, and I've read a couple of things where they're hinting at that they may allow him to be an older statesman in the universe and have a little more experience and come in weathered and tired. That would be interesting with that character. So I'm excited. Now, Superman. We've already seen him in the movies battle Lex Luthor countless times. The Phantom Menace baddies. Nuclear Man from the awful number 4. Who does he battle? Brainiac in this one?
That's what you should do Brainiac, because then what you do is you have him, he's the last son of Krypton. I'm here on Earth. I'm doing everything. Brainiac shows up because he's going to take a city and blow up Earth, and so he can have it as his own. But no, then Superman, when he's doing this, he finds out there's a bottle city of Kandor there. So he takes that to his Fortress of Solitude so that he's not alone anymore, but he's also got to find a way to enlarge the city. Does he eventually do that? And does he put it on Mars? And so we've got another new Krypton on Mars. And so you could have more superheroes. So you could have a Supergirl come over, or Crypto if you wanted to. Also, maybe something like that.
So the reason you would probably still need to lean into Luthor is we just can't have our villain be one note. He's got to have some motivation Superman has to have something to overcome that kind of makes sense in terms of his ideology and so on. Simply fighting a parasite or a toy man, or even on some level Bizarro.
Luthor...
Is it not Bizarro?
Brainiac?
Brainiac.
Yeah.
It doesn't really tell us much about Clark and Superman as much as somebody who's a human who's out for him because of his alienness. Like that. Like, I don't necessarily know that you should go hard in on Luthor, but I think you should at least establish the character.
Luthor would be the one that lures Brainiac in and tries to double cross Brainiac. And
I was going to say, to the point that how well Matt Reeves did with the Batman of establishing Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler being the main one, but you're adding in these secondary characters that don't really come off secondary. They add elements to it that enhance the main thrust of the narrative, which is against the Riddler. Maybe you just introduce Luthor as that kind of background character that he meets and knows and starts learning how to defeat him. I'm excited to see what they do. I just don't know where you go. I mean, who's the next character you bring in? How do you do it? Even though they say that the Flash is testing incredibly well and that they're willing to let Ezra Miller continue with his therapy and things like that, and he's not immediately pushed out of the universe. Yeah. So maybe that works. Maybe that somehow pulls it together.
I'm surprised they didn't dump the Flash and kept Batgirl. With all the grief that was going on and trying to save money, you think they would have dump the bigger one to get the more money from the taxes instead of the smaller one. But
yeah, I don't know.
Don't know. They say they're done getting rid of stuff. Warner Brothers has said we're done. We're done with our content purge on everything.
I can see that.
Which is, why I always buy physical media. If you can't undelete my DVD that I have.
So to that point, I buy a lot of digital rights on Xbox. And in the entire time that I've been doing that, I've only had one movie vanish on me. At which point, apparently, a lot of people threw a fit because, like, 3 weeks later, it was back. And I think that they have to fix that idea that if I'm going to give you, and all you're doing is buying a license to stream that movie at any time you want. But if I'm going to give you money, and you think, okay, yeah, but we need more money, then it needs to come back and say, you need to re-up your right to own this instead of just taking it away from you.
But see, and again, that's bullshit. Like again,
Wow,
if I have my phone here and the company comes back to me and says, "Well, if you want to keep using your phone, pay us $20 more bucks." Fuck you! I bought it. I used it. It's mine.
Yeah, but your contract is what changes, right?
Yes.
That's the thing that you'd have to. At some point, you wouldn't be able to access your own network because your technology has moved on. Like we're definitely an interesting era in terms of ownership of things.
I only buy the Criterion Collection movies. They're the only, because there is a Criterion channel. And it's like Netflix, but for, classic and foreign films and all that. And so I do subscribe to it, and they do keep some of the absolute classics of the Criterion channel are always there. They've even said these will never go away. They're anywhere in Diabolique, the 39 Steps, all these films that created the film language will never go away. But when it comes to, like, they released Citizen Kane on Blu-ray, Criterion did. Well, I'm going to fucking buy that because I want it. And that's the only way to get it. I just don't want any other fucking discs. If I want to watch a movie, I'm lazy now. I'm spoiled. I'm to the point. It's the
look
same
for the
as,
streaming.
It's the same thing as that, and I don't want to say it because I don't want to make Google go do things. But there's a phrase that we can make Google do things for us now that Sean and I both have in our house. I expect the same. I want to watch it, and that's what this has done to me. Is this idea that I want my media. Here it is. I don't have to get up and get a disc to put it in.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about comic books, right? You can come into the store and buy a $4 comic book. I have quite a few customers that once they bought that $4 comic book, they just get rid of it. They don't care anymore. They've read it. They've had it. They've done it. They spent their $4. That's it. They don't need to hang on to it. And I have other customers that want to, have, soft gloves on it and put it in a bag and maybe buy a second copy to read and keep one kind of pristine.
Wow.
So it's all over the gamut. You could buy, a $5 movie on Apple. Because you want to watch it or rent it or whatever. Say you want to spend $10 to own it. You have that license as long as they allow you to have that license, and when it's gone, it's gone. But if you really, really wanted it, you should go and buy the physical item.
You should, but okay, then let's also talk if you really, really want it. What I would rather in those things where I'm buying a movie like that, and it's Xbox every Tuesday comes out with $4.99 special movies, and that's where I get a lot of them. And there are a lot of films I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I want A Place in the Sun for $49, $4.99. It should say on there $4.99 for a 2-year license. It should just, and it could easily say that you're doing that, or would you like to spend $10 to own it indefinitely?
Or just say the license expires on X date.
Yes, that's all you need to do.
Well, but my question is in the terms of services of owning the application or whatever it is that not in there somewhere? Do we know?
It does say if you look at that, any titles purchased here and within. The property holder has the right to immediately terminate your access to this file. Yeah. All I'm saying is that it would be so easy to say that when you purchase this and then when you let's say you went into A Place in the Sun, your license only guarantees ownership through this date. It would be so easy to timestamp that and allow people to know that. That way people aren't pissed when they go and go, where is that movie I bought? Well, you don't own it. You're agreeing to give them $5. And here's where this is just a boon for these media companies. I give you $5 and there's a good chance I may never watch that movie. You may never have to stream it to me and you may never lose money. That's one of the reasons Netflix works. There are a lot of people that have Netflix who don't watch it for a month. There are the three of us who watch it all the time. Right. But they make a lot of money on people who just have that subscription and not doing anything and they're just giving them money for access.
Which is what we're doing. We're excited about the new season of Yellow Jackets on Showtime.
I gotta get caught up on that.
So it's one of those things where we're gonna spend the $10 for 1 month just to watch the show.
It, and then
so basically, we're paying $10 to watch a season.
Right.
So they're getting our money. even though we're going to turn the service right back off. But for them, that's a purchase almost, right?
Yeah.
Or a rental. It's
Right.
a rent. We're renting the season for a month.
Right.
But it's just I can't even imagine just how this gigantic market now works and what's worthwhile to continue producing and what's not worthwhile to continue producing. And do they see, is that basically what it is? So Netflix sees how many people jump on to one particular thing because they buy it for the month and then turn it off. Is that
sure
the
they
metric?
do.
You see that because the other night, and I'm for one time not going to mention the company I work for, but one of our services came up to my mother-in-law and she said, "Do I want this?" And it's an extended service for a product that we have that really, it takes away ads. It allows for a little more storage and things like that. And I'm like, no, you don't. But what they want are people like my mother-in-law that go, okay,
and then
just
never
give
use
it,
it.
and they don't ever use it. And we know those metrics of the people that
Yeah.
don't access that information, and the people like me who use every bit of it and push that to its limit are rare and few. I mean, the few that like doesn't even come close to being the average person. Jeez, I keep hitting that mic. So I think that those people absolutely know, and I think that's where they build in their profits is on those people who are going to do it. Because I do that like you do with Paramount Plus. I don't like most of the Star Trek shows. I'll admit to it. Most of them kind of don't resonate with me, and I don't like Yellowstone, but I do like those little. Like I think there's one like called 1923 now with Harrison Ford. He makes these little side projects that are more like and they tell a little bit of the evolution of America. I find those very interesting, and so I do like you do. I turn it on for a month, maybe 2 months if I don't have the time. I watch that show and I turn it off.
Yeah. I honestly hadn't really never thought about the fact that when you just turn it on for a month, you're basically saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you my rent for my.
Yeah.
I'm renting this season for a month." Because we'll turn on for a month, we'll watch maybe a couple other things, but it's not. We're going in for one show typically,
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Even though now I think about it, because I turned on Paramount Plus too, because Abby wants to watch something. I was like, well, shit, now I got to get every show in
Yeah.
that month.
While you can.
And she's been at home, so I'm like way behind. I got to get on it. Anyway, anything else?
No. That's
It's going to be a short in between.
These things happen.
Oh, because I thought of Colin Farrell, because of Penguin, Banshees of Inisherin. Good movie.
It's on
The Banshees of Inisherin.
Okay.
It's by the same filmmaker that made In Bruges. Did you ever see In Bruges?
Yes.
And I loved that movie. This is a little. There's the same flavors, but it's a darkly funny, touching movie.
Well, Sean wants you to watch The Menu,
Yes.
which we
Yes.
watched 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
I will.
We can't talk about it.
I know we can't really talk about it.
Abby leaves a week from tomorrow, and at that point, I can actually get back to watching things
All right.
that my 20-year-old's not telling me to watch. So I'll let you know what I think of The Menu. Probably it won't be next when we record. Maybe it will be because I don't know if we're recording next week. So
Yeah, we don't know. We don't yet. Right next week, the wedding.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, this won't affect any of you listening. We're just logistically saying
I know.
we'll be
Yeah.
together again.
Here's the in-between where we're just talking about her normal stuff. I'll start wrapping up. Cool. Bye.
Pretty much the next time we get together, I should be able to watch it. I'll tell you what I think of it.
2 weeks. I have 2 weeks. The end of the month.
In the month.
End of the month. No, 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah.
3 weeks is the start of start of my competition season
Okay.
for CrossFit.
Okay. All right. I
All
guess
right.
that's it. Another frustrating week in the books of watching a bunch of people talk about weird stuff within Apes and comic book talk. It's just comics. Get all your comics there. Richard will help you out.
ThisComics.com.
You guys are so bored and lazy. Yeah. So go to this comics. Huh? That sounds
I got to take the dog to the dog park.
All right. Well,
Dog park.
That's it. Dog park. I'm going to go home and hang out with my kid.
I'm
All
gonna go
right.
grocery shopping and fit in another workout today.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, we did grocery shopping yesterday morning. Shelly's like, we have to get up and go. I'm like, I loved you 30 years ago. Don't push me to go to the store. I will
Do you
not
guys
love
go
you.
on Saturday morning?
Yes. That's Saturday morning because we
You
do
shop together.
We do our workout. We go to Weight Watchers. Then we go, and because it's like we know our week and we're planning, and it's that time. It's part of the process. And we did not go to Weight Watchers yesterday because she was not feeling well and she needed to sleep in. But we still went to the fucking grocery
No,
store.
of course. You gotta
I'm
eat.
surprised. JJ does the grocery shopping, right?
She does the groceries.
I typically
she
do
goes
the
on
grocery
Saturdays.
shopping. I don't know that I could do it with somebody else. It would drive me crazy.
Well, that's the thing. She doesn't want my help. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want Chris.
She knows what she.
Chris can
needs.
go to the grocery store and get stuff for us.
Yes.
But I have to be the one to actually buy the main groceries. He can pick
Yes.
something
Same
up.
thing.
Shelly makes the list. I push the cart and I keep her company, but I don't question what she's doing.
Okay.
Yeah. I know my place.
You don't say, hey, honey, how about this?
Oh, no.
And hold up some
You
chips
want
or
some
cookies.
of these?
Even though we did get because everything is a self-checkout now, we got a woman at Kroger's coming up to us and go, you two are like the sweetest, cutest pair. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you have a process. You know what to hand her when she wants it. And I'm like, that is 30 years of marriage with that woman knowing what she wants to put in a bag when. So yeah, I hand it to her. So we're a cute couple. I can't wait until we're 30 more years down the line and we're like a cute old couple.
Older.
I'm 56. I'm not old yet.
We were just, everybody's dying. We just, a 54-year-old actor just passed
Adam
away.
Rich
and I'm
from the 80s.
yeah, and I'm like,
enough.
why are all these people like my age or just slightly older than me dying or developing some terrible disease?
I think that's the weirdness of once you get over your 50s, that becomes, hey, there's at least the higher probability someone's going to kick it.
I
But
guess.
it does seem that way. There was somebody not too long ago.
Drummer of the Foo Fighters, or who was it?
Oh, Taylor Hawkins died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was on purpose. But
Was it?
Well, he didn't kill himself, but
thought he committed suicide.
No, he basically just years and years, it looks like, of substance abuse.
Yeah.
So it was a long, brought on death.
Okay.
And I'm something shocked Sean hasn't asked me, being the football fan, about the tragic
the
thing.
guy that got hit in the chest.
Did you? We were watching that game, and it was just the weird. Did you not hear about this?
Well, I knew about it, but I didn't know you were watching the game when it happened.
Shelly and I love football, so we watch it all the time. We're watching it, and it was weird because Abby's in there playing Sims. She just wanted to hang out with us. She's not watching the game. Shelly's on her phone, but I literally was watching it, and he gets hit, and it's a very normal hit, right? And it turns out that what it was is they believe that in fact, the doctor that Shelly works with nailed it. He said it's some arrhythmic issue where if you have to hit the chest precisely at the exact moment
when it's beating
that an
out or
electrical
whatever.
pulse occurs. And he said the probability of it happening are minuscule.
Oh, yeah.
And he said it could happen to any one of us. If you went and punched somebody in the chest, you could kill them if you hit that precise right moment. He hits this guy. It's a normal hit. You know, the guy kind of crumbles into him. They fall down. He even gets up, and right away you just saw him fall. And I was like, I told Shelly, I said, something's really wrong. And she's like, what? And she looked up, and they played it again. And we're like, and then you see people running off the field.
Yeah.
You know, I love sports for the strategy. I love sports for the physical nature of it. They become our gladiators today, and all those different things what reasons why we may need it. But then you see the humanity that existed, and you watched all these people
crying and
these men, these big tough gladiators. And there's one of the kids is Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Bills. There's this shot of him where he's just got his hands over his face that looks like that moment where there's no armor you could put on him. Mm-hmm. He is so destroyed, and you see all these men just in tears. As what we now find out that defibs are brought out for him, CPR is done on the field, and now remarkably he recovers.
Yeah,
and is coming back. So thank God the correct thing happens. But Jesus Christ, it was a night of, and I couldn't quit watching it. It wasn't for I didn't want to see the footage again. I was like, don't show me it. I was like, I just want to know this kid's okay.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy Renner runs over himself with a snowplow.
And that was in the same moment.
No, like, what the hell?
And it's because he's, okay.
Because he's out there helping somebody.
So we have the humanity of these people crying and touched by this man in a freak accident. And then when the freak accident, because he's helping people. At least everybody was being good, so James can make us hope for Superman. We all need a little bit of hope. And by the way, that's a cool mouse. Is that new?
Yeah.
Really? I thought you've had that one before.
No, I brought it the last couple times. I was having some carpal tunnel issues. I was having golfer's elbow.
It's a mouse turned on its side.
I get tennis elbow sometimes.
Okay, we have officially almost ended this about 3 or 4 times. So
you know they're different, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the gavel down on this, which I didn't need 15 elections to give me the gavel. Thank you very much. It's a bam, bam, bam. That's it, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.